Thank you very much. I'm John Capobianco. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Vitek Corporation. I'm going to tell you a little bit about us and what's going on. I did want to make you aware we've decided we're going to caption this event. So we are, while I'm not going to throw the captions up on the screen, that can be done too. We decided to just stream these to a URL. So if you want to go to that URL and pick that up, if you want to see captions, this will be live captions. Because they don't know what I'm going to say, but they will caption just like they do on newscasts and everything else all around the country. So anything you do can be captioned. It can be put anywhere. Matter of fact, we just got back from a conference in Atlanta. We went to the Society for Human Resources Managers, the diversity conference in Atlanta. We captioned all their keynotes for them. We brought an encoder and we put them right up on the screen so that everybody could see them. We also streamed them so that they could pick them up on their phones and their tablets and all that other stuff. So it's a relatively simple thing to do, and those same captions can be streamed to any platform at any time. So just so you know, captions can be done even when we didn't do it for the rest of this conference, although maybe next year we will. We offered to do that, and we're always happy to do those kind of things for conference. Vitek is the largest captioning company in the United States. We provide more captioning services than all of the other competitors combined. And when I say that, I mean we're the #1 captioning for all the major broadcasters, the major cable networks, the program producers, the streaming producers, corporations, educations, government, everybody else. So as the largest provider of captions, what does that mean? In the minute that I've been speaking, we captured over an hour's worth of captioning. So for every minute of every day, we do more than an hour's worth of captioning, 550,000 hours plus of captioning every year. When you turn on captioning in your local establishment, you're at the gymnasium, you have them on, you're at the sports bar, it's on, you're over in front of the Starbucks, it's on. Those aren't ours, by the way, that's ASR, you can tell. Most of that captioning you see is us. It's again, we have hundreds and hundreds of captioners. Captioning, good captioning is not done by machine, it's done by people. We have people all over the United States. Most of them work remotely. We connect them in through our very proprietary network because we ensure security of all of your events and make sure that you have confidentiality of everything that is captioned until you want it displayed, not when somebody else might want to do that. So that's just a little bit about Vitek. Again, we're very proud of what we do. I've been there for a couple of years. The thing that strikes me most about everybody that works at Vitek is that they pride themselves on the service that we provide to the deaf and hard of hearing community. Our customers, not our clients, the consumers, are typically the deaf and hard of hearing community, #1, and #2, the millennial generation who view most of what they do every day on one of these, and every time they watch video, 85% of the video they watch is without sound on, and if your video is not captioned, it's meaningless, and they flip by it and they don't stop. If it's captioned, they find out what it is, maybe they'll stop and look at it. It's an important point that you should all think about when you're thinking about captioning your materials. So why caption? So I just said that there's 50 million deaf and hard of hearing people in the United States. There's about 30, sometimes you'll see 30 million and sometimes you'll see 48 million. You see a lot of, I've done the extrapolation, I've read the Johns Hopkins studies, I've figured out how many people there are. And this is people above the age, or the age of 12 and above, is 50 million people in the current census have at least unilateral hearing loss, one ear loss. It's about 12.7% of them, or 1 in 8 versus 1 in 6, have bilateral hearing loss. So what you're talking about is a lot of people, that's a lot of buyers of goods and services that receive their information that way. Just as importantly are all the people that benefit because the deaf and hard of hearing have worked so hard to make sure everything is captioned and it is accessible. It does have information being displayed. There are 83 million millennials. 57 million of them watch video without the sound on. They belong to gyms. They go to eating establishments where those kinds of things are available to them. And again, most of them are viewing, whether they're on the bus or the train or commuting into work, they're viewing things on their phones and on their tablets. As you now know, the standard is that videos come up without sound on. They don't allow automatic sound anymore on the LinkedIn's and Yahoo's and Instagrams and everything else. They come up without sound on, and if you don't have captions on, you don't get those vital few seconds of information flow that capture people and make them and draw them into you. Above and beyond that, there's another 10 million people or so that have English as a second language, and they find, as a matter of fact, I get a lot of comments as I go around the country talking to people that grew up someplace else and don't speak English as a primary language and learned English by watching captions. And they watched captions in their homes and learned to speak and communicate well in English because of the captions. Interesting, I didn't know that. By the way, again, as I told you before, I started in this business only a couple of years ago. I'm from the big technology businesses around the United States. But what was interesting to me is how many people actually used captions. I, like most other people, thought captions happened at the TV when I push the button. They don't. It happens because just like we did right here, there's an audio source back there. Our captioner is listening to what it is I'm saying over a telephone line. They are captioning what's happening. They are turning that into text. They are sending that back here or sending that to that URL, and you can see that captioning right now. That's the way captioning happens all the time. 41% of videos that are produced that don't have captioning are inaccessible without the captions. Nobody knows what they say. Nobody can get to them. And because they see most of them without sound, wherever you might be, if you don't caption what you don't have an indices of what's being said. There's no index that's in there. That doesn't even account for all the other things, the other benefits. That web crawlers can't see inside your videos. They don't know what's going on. If you want SEO, if you want to be able to get addressability through the, like Google searches and things like that, if you caption your information, if you have transcripts, then you can get found. If you just have blobs, and that is, binary large objects, okay, which is video, the crawlers can't get inside. They don't know what the content is. So there's a benefit well beyond just the 50 million deaf and hard of hearing, the 57 million millennials that are watching videos without sound. By the way, when you add those together, including the overlap, it's 1 out of every 3 buying adults are watching videos without sound one way or the other because they can't hear or because they're not listening. So you do want to caption the videos that you have. It doesn't cost much, and what it does is give you accessibility that which not otherwise have. This is the natural question that comes up from everybody. Everybody believes that automatic speech recognition does good levels of captioning. Does it well? It doesn't. We've studied this. We run several ASR engines internally because we're always looking for the best way to get captions done. It doesn't do a good enough job, and I have proof of that because I test what's going on in the country all over the place every day. Most of the ASR engine issues happens because people use it because it's cheap. That's really the only reason that anybody cares about it, is that it doesn't cost hardly anything to do it. It's worth every penny you pay for it. It doesn't do a very good job of it. It gets most proper nouns wrong. It gets most proper names wrong. It gets most names wrong. As a matter of fact, when I look at it, and I've averaged this across, all of the big providers. I'm not going to name them. I don't care who they are. I look at what they do live on broadcast television, And the average right now is just under 68% accurate. 1 out of every 3 words is wrong. 2/3 of the words that are wrong, 2/3 of the errors are wrong words or missing words. Think about that. 1 out of every 3 words that you have going on is wrong or missing. It's not an adequate way to communicate. In addition to that, it captions poorly if there's not a very good connection, there's background noise, people talk over one another. The place where it actually does work is when people are trained to use it and they talk like this to the machine and the machine captions and they put in their period and captions and commas and they do that through a monotone and they talk to it and there's only a single speaker. You can train ASR to do okay. I know we do that. That's what voice writers do. But at the same time, that's not adequate for most of your broadcast needs. And so that's why I say to you it's not very good. And in addition to that, it doesn't capitalize, it doesn't punctuate, it doesn't do, and people always say, oh, poo-poo, who cares about the punctuation? If I gave you a pamphlet, just a couple thousand words, and I didn't have paragraphs or punctuation or commas or anything else, how far do you think you'd read in that document? You'd be confused very, very quickly. People don't think about it that way. Take a paperback book and think about no punctuation, no chapters, no indexes, no commas, no indents for paragraphs or any of those things, just the stream of words. It'd be awful. Well, it is awful. You can watch it. It's just not very, very good. So I captured a little piece of it right here. This is a local station. This was back in July. Firefighters arrived, boats, but 20 minutes ago that spoke at fire, showing it, and that's what they said was, the firefighters arrived on scene about 20 minutes ago, that smoke and fire showing, and that's what it was supposed to say. One of the other really important things about the automatic speech recognition is that, and because you say, well, I watch captioners and there's missing words when humans do it too. Yes, they do. They paraphrase sometimes. Captioners are trained. They are trained to sometimes, and as much as we don't like to think about not doing verbatim, because we all want to do verbatim all the time, verbatim is not always the best delivery on the screen. Our captioners are taught to paraphrase in order to slow it down enough so the words stay on the screen long enough for somebody to be able to read them. And sometimes they'll leave out some words for better meaning. ASR engines leave out words because they get befuddled. Humans leave out words because they're trying to improve the meaning. So when you actually compare what happens between human captioners and the automatic speech recognition, the huge difference is the readability of what's happening. And it's the human context of knowing how to communicate effectively with the words that are being spoken. So I know I spent a lot of time on this. We get a lot of questions about this. Everybody wants to know, when is it going to be ready? Well, so do we, which is why we test it every day. I've got currently 58 tests that I've just done on 80,000 words, and that's where I get my statistics from of 67.88% accurate. It was 32.12, whatever that is, that were inaccurate. And that most of that, again, 2/3 of that is missing words and wrong words. So just in case you're interested in ASR, that's kind of the statistics of the current generation. And I'm talking about all the big names. I look at all of them every day. So when you want to do captioning, there's a couple of different things you want to think about. There's what we're doing right now. This is called real-time or live captioning. I'll talk about that first. As I told you before, what we set up here was I have an audio source. I have a telephone line. So we've got a POTS line. It's sending information to our captioner so that they can caption it. So we need an audio source. We need a captioner at a moment's notice. One of the reasons to do business with the larger providers like us is that we have captioners, we have backup, we have all those things that we need. If you're going to go to television, you want the captions on the television, you need an encoder as well. We did not bring one here today because we weren't going to put it up, but that's what we typically would bring if we were going to put it up on the screen. Captions can be streamed, as they are today, to a URL. It requires that you broadcast the address that you want everybody to go to. So just like I did, I put up a sign that said, here's where you would pick up these captions. If you were doing a meeting or you wanted to do a show or you wanted to do a broadcast, you'd have to, and you were going to do it to a URL, obviously you have to tell all the audience where the captions can be found, what URL address they could go to. But that's all you have to do in order to get captioning through internet access. What you also need is 7 by 24 by 365 support to resolve the unexpected issues. There will be problems. There will be issues. There will be connectivity issues. There will be word choices. There will be preparatory material that our captioners are going to want to have because you're going to want them to spell names right. And if you want them to spell names right, then you send us, here's what we're going to be talking about. So we get prep material to the captioners, that kind of stuff. Makes them more accurate, makes it more valuable for you. Additionally, you want to think about what other things might we need. We think normally about multi-language services. Well, I know we do large broadcast networks, so we do their Spanish versions as well as their English versions. So we're kind of used to that, and especially here in Southern California, you would think about having Spanish captions as well as English captions. You want somebody that can do that for you at the same time. But, we just recently responded to a larger corporate client. They want captions in 28 languages. We can provide that kind of a facility. Now, that's not simple. That's not easy, but it can be done. Most people don't want that. But, you have to be able to respond to the demands of the marketplace, and that's what you want to look for. You also want to have the transcripts for future use. One of the things we find a lot in corporate meetings and those kinds of things where people want to do captioning is because they also want the transcript after the meeting is over. It's a record of whatever was said, whatever the communication was. Very useful in corporate environments and that kind of stuff, as well as, of course, for people providing video. If you want to be able to have a transcript because you want to be able to be found on the internet, those things can be very useful. The other kind of captioning we typically think about, by the way, there's also, all the multi-language and all the audio dubbing and audio description capability and all that stuff we have. But the other thing that everybody normally thinks about is the pre-recorded videos or on-demand content. The big difference you see between captioning that happens real time and the captioning on demand is that the words that people speak happen at the time they speak them on pre-recorded video because you have time. So what we do in pre-recorded is you submit a file to us, you send us a file. Typically that's some sort of an FTP or high-speed upload of video. We insert that into our automated workflow, so our client services organization receives it. They tell you that we have it. They digitize all the video. They make sure it's accessible to the captioners. The captioners then take the video. If you sent it without a transcript, then they create a transcript. They need all the words to put back into the video that's going to be there. Once they have a transcript, then it's a different job than real-time captioning because now they take all the words and frame by frame go through the video, analyzing when people speak and when they should put up the words that those people speak and where they should put them on the screen so they don't cover up something important, and also indicate who's saying what, because you can do that in offline captioning or on what we call on-demand captioning. So typically you'll see, person A says words and those words are over here and person B is over here and they say the words and those words pop up over here and they pop up at the time they actually say them. That's on demand or not, that's not real-time captioning, that's offline captioning. That's also a very valuable service. That, by the way, is always guaranteed at 100% verbatim. because we have time. You know, you're not summarizing anything. You're actually creating the actual words and putting them on screen on time. They also do a lot of audio dubbing during that time period, or indicating other sounds, you know, bird chirp, dog barks, door closes, all those kind of things get put into offline captioning or on-demand captioning. Once the captioning is all timed and placed, we can then send you back that captioning file. You can just receive the file if you want to encode it or you want to do that. Again, because we're a large production facility, if you want us to burn the captions in, you want us to encode it for you, we can do that as well, and return you the video however, in whatever format you want it, already pre-burned in if that's the way you want it from us. Again, it's just one of the services that we provide in what we do each and every day. Oh, and I forgot to mention, of course, we can also, when you're in offline, again, because you have time, you can also do that in up to about 100 different languages. So what should you look for in a caption vendor? Both live and on-demand solutions, because you want one group that can kind of handle whatever your needs are. You want trained, certified, and employee captioners. I make that distinction because, you know, we have hundreds and hundreds of employee captioners. Why is that important? Security. They're using our equipment through our networks, access to our files, all secured, so you don't have to worry about your information getting disclosed to people you don't want it disclosed to or disclosed early. You can imagine a lot of the TV shows and things we do, they don't want their punchlines gone before anything happens. Well, we provide that kind of security, and we provide it to everybody. We do that because we have certified employee captioners. We're not shooting it off to anybody who might bid on it and go ahead and do the captioning. We have a full on-air support department, so a scheduling department, client support and services, and technical services so that they can assist people in getting things done. We have all the technical know-how. We've been doing this for 31 years. We do it for all the major corporations, for all the major broadcasters. We know how to get captioning done and how to get it back to you. We have experts that deal with it every day. We have a full production control and QC department that reviews everything and makes sure it's adequate before we send it back out to the clients. We also do full quality analysis and review internally. We judge our captioners. We pay our captioners based upon meeting the minimum standard of 98% accurate for real-time captioning. That's what we do every day, and we test them every day. I know I write up reports every day because somebody got something wrong. You'd think in doing an hour's worth of captioning for every minute of every day, even at 98% accuracy, things happen, things are wrong, and I get to review them every day. It's not fun. But it is something that we take very seriously. We judge every captioner. We pay them based upon their rankings and their ratings so that they get judged every quarter. It's important that we do that because our job is to be accurate and give you a high-quality product. Our job is not just captioning. It's a service business. It's supplying you with the high-quality service, not just random captions. And of course, we're available 24/7, 365, because you can't do 550,000 hours worth of captioning in less than 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's just not possible to do that. So that kind of concludes my thing. We are Vitek, which, by the way, is a contraction of vital and access. We believe in vital access. We believe in accessibility. We believe in support of the deaf and hard of hearing. We believe in the support of everybody who benefits from captions. Our mission is accessibility for life, and we take it seriously. I'd be happy to answer any questions I can, although I am going to stop in about 5 minutes, but I just wanted to give the opportunity in case you had a question you wanted to ask. Right here.
So you said the ASR, the accuracy is about 68%?
The broadcast, when we test it against broadcast, I know that when they do testing facilities, they can get a lot higher than that. But when I pick off KTLA and KDVR and WJLA, and I pick off all the places where they have used broadcast captioning, the average of the 58 different segments that I have picked up has been just under 68% accurate so far. The other interesting part about it is everybody tells you it's going to get better. ASR engines actually start out better and they get worse as they get more and more data because they get more confused, just as an interesting point.
Oh, really? That's actually my question. Have you seen the AI or deep learning actually improve the accuracy in the past few years?
Well, I'll give you an example. There's a station here in town that in July I took examples of, and their accuracy rating was about 70% or so, 70 point something percent. I just took it again in the middle of October, same station using the same ASR engine. Their accuracy rating has dropped down into the low 60s. Actually, I think it's 60.5% or something right at the moment. I asked my chief scientist, our chief technology officer, about that because he had made a prediction when he did a study on ASR saying, you know, they're going to start out better and get worse because they're not human. They don't have selective remembrance, right? They don't have selective memory. They remember everything. So the more they remember, the more they have to sort through and try to figure out the triad of the 3 words I think this might be, and if I'm 75% accurate, I'm spitting it out. And by God, some of the words they spit out are not very friendly, and I've seen some because, again, I'm recording what's going on out in the industry. But I just thought that was interesting because you would think it would be the opposite. Everybody tells you it's going to be the opposite. But when you think about most of the people who do this are, you know, selling you know, terabyte storage address and lots of processing power. What they're trying to do is to get everybody to use a lot of data. The problem is the more data, the more confused you get, or at least that's the way it appears to me today after watching, having it be predicted, and then watching and picking it up 3 or 4 months later and saying, why did it get worse? It should get better. It didn't get better. It got worse. So just out of interest. I'm not trying to be an AI specialist. I'm just telling you this is what I see when I analyze it myself.
Good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else I can answer before we break? Yep, up over in the front.
You said you have you can provide 100+ languages. Mm-hmm. Is that, let's say I have an interview in Japanese, will you do the translation into English captions?
Yes.
Or will you, can you also do the Japanese character translation?
We do Japanese to Japanese also. Again, these are things we have to arrange for. I don't have a whole series of people, although we do a couple of Japanese stations as part of our daily work. But I don't have people on staff that do that, but I do have connections. We have people on staff for Spanish and Portuguese and, you know, the things that we see all the time. We typically wind up doing French and German and those kinds of things. Japanese and special characters, you know, in Japanese, we can do Japanese to Japanese and do Japanese to English and English to Japanese. But it takes some pre-arranging. It's not something that I'm going to be able to turn on. Can you do it now? No. Could I do it tomorrow? Probably. Right? Okay. Anything else? Well, with that, I'd like to thank you very much. Thanks for coming and attending. If we can, there are people here that you can see, John and Darren in the black shirts and in the seafoam, Deb. They can answer any questions. I know I have to go run to the airport and go to the next meeting, but I appreciate your coming. I hope I was able to help you, and if there's anything we can do to help you, please just contact us at vitek.com. We'd be happy to answer any question you have. Thank you.